Thanks so much, Dr. Sweetenham. So this year we're doing a little bit different. We're going to actually have a cancer survivor panel with 4 cancer survivors, and then also Dr. Sweetenham will be the moderator and kind of ask some questions for each survivor. So if we can invite up Kathy Commander, Carri Lyons, Brita Peavey, and Larry Pedersen, and then also Dr. Sweetenham again.
I'm going to start out actually not with the first question on this list, but one that I think is perhaps the more intriguing. And I'm not going to ask it to anyone specifically, but maybe we'll just ask all of the folks up here to comment. And the question is, were there any assumptions or misconceptions about cancer or having cancer that as a survivor are things that have particularly struck you or are things that you would want to shed some light on?
No, I'll answer that, and you can help too. I was diagnosed with stage 1 cancer of the uterus, and when I told people about stage 1, it almost seemed like, oh, it's only stage 1. Because stage 1 is so much better than stage 4, and it almost seemed like that, you weren't really allowed to be mad because you had stage 1 cancer, and why should you complain, and why should you feel so awful about it because it's stage 1, and you didn't have to go through chemo and radiation, and that was what I faced as well, because it was just as devastating as someone going through stage 3, stage 4.
Okay, the biggest misconception for me was the fact that I heard when you go through chemotherapy, and this is what I thought, you lose your hair and you get nauseous. Well, I was given some pretty heavy-duty chemo, and I will tell you that that's not the worst. Your body goes through things where you actually feel like you're dying from the inside out. And so the other misconception for me was the fact that you have all these side effects, but it doesn't seem that anyone can really answer if they go away, when they go away, and how to deal with that. So I think that was pretty hard for me.
At the other end of that, post-treatment, I think I was surprised that I think so many people thought that, oh, you're through your treatment, you got a clean PET scan. Great, okay, you're done. And it was kind of funny to me that it hit me that really people had this misconception of this, because a week to the day after my radiation treatment was completed, my neighbor came and asked if I would take care of her yard while they were out of town. And I thought, I can't even take care of myself yet. But I'm glad you think I'm so put together. And so for me, it's kind of the opposite end, that post-treatment, it's not like you get a clean PET scan and everything's fine. This changes your experience in life.
Mm-hmm. Well, I felt that, cancer was a big thing in my mind when I first found out. And when you hear the word cancer, you feel like it's a death sentence. And actually, I went into this head first. I went through the chemo treatment, and to me, waking up in the morning, taking a shower, doing the things the doctor told me what to do, it wasn't really that bad to me, because what else are you supposed to do, die? So I put into head first and kept thinking to myself, it's not really that big of a deal.
Right.
And I think that's why I'm here like I am today, because of that.
So I'm interested in something that you said about coming to the end of the treatment. And one of the things that sometimes struck me is that you go through this very almost intensive phase of treatment, of hospital visits, of clinic visits, and you have treatment, and you have exams, and you have lab work, and then you get your chemotherapy or you do your radiation. And then you get to the end and come into the clinic, and someone says, so great, things have gone very well. We'll see you in about 3 or 4 months. And how is that? How does that feel when suddenly, after the intensity of everything that's happened in the preceding 6 months or whatever, suddenly someone says, yeah, we don't need to see you now, you're fine, we'll see you in 3 months?
I think it's like a lifeline, like the umbilical cord getting cut at first, and you you really want that, but I almost feel like it's a gradual, it's a natural process to kind of step back into, okay, this is still always kind of a part of me and my life and my experience, but it now gets to take maybe a back seat for the time being. And so I think it's kind of a natural transition to that.
So can I ask each of you in no particular order, when you were dealing with this, what was the biggest challenge?
That's a tough question.
I'll go with that.
Yeah.
Okay, I think the biggest challenge for me personally was staying strong for my kids and my husband and my clients and my friends, because I felt like if they knew how I really felt, that it would make them so much more fearful. So just getting up every day and just being this warrior was probably the toughest thing, just simply because, you know, you don't really feel like that, but it's sort of the way that I handled it, to try to keep the people in my world where they weren't so afraid of what I was going through. So.
For me, the hardest thing was wondering if God was punishing me, and having this internal battle of saying, you know, what did I do that was so wrong that I'm being given cancer here? You know, was it because, you know, I defriended someone, or, you know, I was mean to someone because I drove too fast on the highway and they were driving too slow? You know, I kept kind of going through this thing of what is it that I did that was so wrong that I'm getting this? You know, and the year before I was diagnosed, we had a baby and we lost the baby, and almost a year to the day I was diagnosed with cancer. So it was such a double whammy to think, wow, why is this getting worse? Am I so bad? And every day and every minute it was going, why?
I had some of that too. You want to know. I think it's natural for you to want to ask the questions why. And it's great when you have the people that kind of ask you why, or give you suggestions why they think you got cancer, or you gave yourself cancer, or different things. And it's stick with the hug and don't say anything if you want to offer that up. But for me, I think the most challenging part was just this huge storm cloud after diagnosis, that you have this newfound friend of fear, and trying to kind of find a place to manage that and minimize it, and coming to terms that it's, I don't think, ever going to go away completely. But so that's been the ongoing challenge for me, is how to not let that become a big storm cloud.
I think the biggest thing for me and my family is, you know, I'm out of work now. We've got bills to be paid. We have family members that depend on you to bring home the bacon, per se, and all of a sudden that's taken away from you. That was the biggest thing for me. I didn't care if, you know, really what happened to me. I just wanted to make sure my family was taken care of.
Yeah. So I'm going to go off script just a little bit now, and you know, one of the things that I often wonder about when from my end of the cancer experience, which is obviously, you know, very different from yours, is, are there things that you think that we do as healthcare professionals, taking care of people with cancer, where that you think we do really badly, or we could do an awful lot better? So, you know, is there anything about what we do and the experience you have when you come in to see us, and there could be many different things, but do you think that there are things where we really just don't get it, and we misunderstand what's going on?
I kind of walked into this thing as a team member. It's just not me that has cancer, it's everybody that's around me, my family. We're all going through this together. It's just not me. And my doctors, luckily I had 6. I have 6. I look at it as a team effort. You know, we're all humans. We all make mistakes with emotions and saying the right thing and making sure somebody doesn't get upset because you said that. But with my mind, I just go into it as a team member. And I think the team is the best way to make this a success.
So if someone were to, you were to meet someone in the next few days who told you that they had just had a cancer diagnosis, what would you tell them?
It's all in your attitude. Definitely. It's all in your attitude. That's what I would tell them. And also to have, if you possibly can, get a great support system behind you.
I think that's why we're all up here.
Right. And what's the best support system?
Well, for me, I just kind of like relied on my family members, my doctors especially. They were a huge support to me, and friends. Those were the people that meant the most to me during that process.
On top of that, besides having family and friends and a medical staff that so dearly cares about you and your livelihood, but the support of a higher being, whether you call it God or whatever that higher being is, and really understand that instead of God being so far away from you and thinking that he's punishing you, he's teaching you, and to understand that he is right there, and there's a reason that whatever you're going through, it's, that is one of the highest, I think that's just one of those highest moments that you can have, and really just understand and build that relationship and understanding your faith in your higher power, whatever that is to you.
That's probably why you got it. Right there.
The other thing I would say, that if you're a caretaker of someone with cancer, fighting cancer, you get lost in kind of this dark, at least I did. I got lost in kind of just this dark haze going through treatment, because it just took so much out of you, that to the point that I didn't even know what I needed. If I was severely dehydrated, I couldn't even figure it out some of the times, because I just felt so messed up. But when you get to that point that you just feel like you can't make sense of it and you can't do it anymore, if I would just take a shower and put on fresh pajamas and fresh socks, I would feel a lot better. Like, okay, I can do this.
Yep. Exactly right.
And have you have all of you made big changes in your lives and your priorities and so on since the diagnosis, would you say?
Oh, very much so.
Yeah?
Definitely. For me, I look at life so differently. I don't take my health for granted anymore. I don't take my life for granted. I look at life with a much more positive attitude now. I have a lot more balance in my life. I play more. I rest when I need to. I eat a lot healthier than I used to. And I do a lot of sports to keep my body active, definitely. And my spiritual connection is definitely strengthened since that time.
I think there's really a silver lining to cancer. It's kind of a weird way of communicating it, but because of this, our family's stronger. We get to meet people with stronger ambitions in life now. I think it's a plus the whole thing.
Yeah. So this is kind of going off in a different direction, but from your perspective, if you could have told, let's say, I don't know, our politicians, if they came to you, or if an organization that funded cancer support in some way came to you, and had actually said to you, either now or as you went through your cancer journey, where should we put our dollars, and what should we be doing that as patients would make you feel that it was really, really helping you? Where would you place the priorities in terms of kind of what we can do to best help you, or what these people could do to best help you?
I think financial.
Financial, yep, okay.
It's pretty expensive what we've been going through. I don't know if you've really looked at your bills. Thank goodness I have good insurance, But you know, I'm a Rolls Royce. I'm a $500,000 man right now.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of crazy. I think the cost of this is extremely high for sure it's life, but you know,
Sure.
you know, it's expensive. And then we're out of work. We can't work.
Yeah.
You know, I think it became an interesting perspective to me that that at some point in that dark haze, you see yourself as this just walking medical bill. Like, I'm just walking around and I am costing people money and I'm just fighting this. And it's a scary point, I think, where you have a sick person that starts to feel like they're just a medical bill. So to me, it would be great to maybe just some financial to alleviate some of the patient's financial burden.
Right. There are some very, very expensive drugs right now, especially, as I'm sure that you guys are aware. And, you know, I to be honest, and I'm almost embarrassed and a little bit ashamed to say this, but for a lot of the medications that I regularly prescribe, I have a pretty good idea of how much they cost. But I have no idea what the copays on those are. So, you know, I know how much they cost because I see that come through. But how much my patients actually have to pay, if I'm honest, I really often have no idea. But, you know, clearly the drugs cost too much. And eventually I think that's something that in itself is going to need to be addressed. The good thing about that, though, I think, is that the technology is such now that a lot of these drugs can be produced a lot more cheaply than they used to be. So I see a time when actually that burden, at least, and it's only a small part of it, and I understand that, but I think that part of the burden will actually be relieved just a little bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. So you mentioned a little bit about priorities changing. How much do any of you think about your lifestyle, exercise, what you eat, and the things those things and how those things have been impacted by your diagnosis? And the other question that I would have that goes along with that is, do you feel you got good advice about that? In other words, you know, as you went through this journey, did you feel like you were given the best possible advice about what to eat and what to do and what to exercise, you know, how to exercise and so on? I'm just curious to know, you know, how well informed you felt you were.
Okay, well, for me, I just kind of always take things on myself. So I just started doing research on my own. Actually, I was given information, but there was a part of it for me. It wasn't just about the foods I was eating and the exercise. There was a lot more. It was a lot about the internal part that was going on. So I started meditating and doing yoga and things like that. And so it wasn't just about what I was eating and the physical. It was a lot about the mental that went along with it. And for me, it changed my life. It really did. It was like such a positive asset that I now have benefited from big time.
Right.
Mine's called a Harley Davidson.
You know, I would like to see a little more of that integrated into your regular treatment. The information is available. It's out there. You have to look for it. But when I first was diagnosed, I had read some like Yahoo Flash or something of carrots prevent cancer, and I remember for like 3 days I was just eating carrots, all like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I was like, okay, we'll kick this with carrots, and so I would like to see more of that integrated into your regular treatment.
I think it's kind of interesting. When I was diagnosed at the age of 34, my doctors were, you know, I love this, you're an anomaly. And I've heard that so many times because I was young and I was fit and I was healthy, and they were saying that the cancer cells that were producing the tumor were just paradoxical, because those were really usually found in women that were older, that were smokers, that were overweight. And here I am, I have cancer now, and you know, I'm not doing, you know, any of that. And it was just kind of funny because I heard one time, and it's just kind of interesting that when you get a cancer diagnosis, either you start to eat really healthy and you're totally like, I'm going to exercise every day and nothing bad is going to enter my body. And then you go to the other side and you have people that are like, screw it, because I have cancer and I do all that stuff. So it was really kind of interesting because my doctors seemed kind of stumped. They were like, I don't understand that. So they weren't really giving me any information because they were so stumped. And so I kind of like went the other way. I was like, well, I'm going to have coffee, and I, even though they tell you not to do that. And so, but I think that as you move along in your cancer journey, that you start always thinking about, what if I eat this or what if I do that? Is it going to come back? It's always in the back of your mind.
Right.
So
Yeah. And it's I think that very often, in fact, most folks who I meet in my clinic will actually ask me what they should do for diet and what they should do in terms of exercise, and what about supplements and what about vitamins and so on. And up until very recently, the problem has been that we really don't know. And, do I think that diet and exercise influence what happens to, a cancer and to somebody affected by cancer? Absolutely. Can I show you the evidence? Absolutely not, or at least not until recently. And so it's one of the things we struggle with, because everyone wants to know what they can do, and we understand that. But it's just starting to emerge in very recent years that there is now some real hard evidence, for example, that for patients with colon cancer, that if they enter an exercise program, it improves survival. People live longer if they enter an exercise program. The same is true for 2 or 3 other cancers now. And so we're just scratching the surface of actually understanding the, manipulating and changing your diet and making lifestyle changes. It makes many people feel better because of them. Many people do better with their treatments because of them. But actually, it looks now as if, depending on the cancer and depending on what the actual intervention is that you do, some folks might actually be living longer because of it. And so, it's an area where there's kind of pretty intense research now to see if we can actually put some real hard facts behind what many of us have believed to be the case, and frankly what many cancer patients have known to be the case for a very long time, that this really helps. So a lot of money headed that way in terms of funding research right now. Did you guys find the internet to be a helpful resource?
At first it wasn't, because everything I read was negative, like I wasn't going to survive. Saying, my wife says, you're not these people that everybody else has gone through. You're kind of like a special case. Why? Just do what your doctors tell you to do and live the best you can. I think the internet actually scared me more than it helped me.
And did you ever, did you get guidance on where to go on the web and what to look at? You did?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Call Google.
Oh, yeah. Google,
I call it Dr. Google.
Yeah, there you go.
Did you any other comments on the internet and what it did for you in a good or bad way?
Good. I think there was a lot of negative. You go down this spiral, like you start late at night, you're looking at stories and you're like, oh, this is me, oh, this does not end how I want mine to end, and you start kind of spinning off. But at the same time, I've found groups on Facebook of breast cancer survivors that have been really helpful to me as well. So I think with anything there's some good and bad, but it's definitely, Dr. Google is not my favorite guy.
Interesting. Okay. And what about social media? Did any of you get very engaged in kind of social media generally, Facebook, Twitter? Was that a source of support for you, or?
Well, I have an interesting story. Just because when I went through the hair elastic chemo, I actually came up with an idea. Of my husband's an artist, that we were going to do the henna on my head when I lost my hair. So we had a client that took pictures of me, and they posted it, which horrified me. I'm like, oh no, there's my bald head all over the internet. Anyway, it got a lot of positive results and feedback, and so I started thinking, wow, maybe this is like, I know what it did for me, but maybe this is something we should start doing for other people. So yeah, social media, we have our little Facebook page now, and it really it's helped me in my healing, but also I think it's helped other people too, to share this idea. So it was a good thing for me.
Good. Awesome. Yeah, that's great. So I know that we're kind of getting close to time now, and I as you know better than me, Needs Beyond Medicine is here to help with non-medical costs of cancer. And I just wondered if each of you could just give, and to some extent you already have, but just in kind of winding up, because Needs Beyond Medicine does what it does, give some idea about how the diagnosis impacted you from a kind of financial burden kind of way, and what an organization like Needs Beyond Medicine has meant for you.
For me, I think it would be really what a heavy burden to try to be receiving treatment and be worried about providing when you're the provider for your family. That has to be a tremendous load, and fortunately for me, I had my husband was the provider, but even then it became that for his work he traveled, and he ended up, as soon as we got through the bulk of my treatment, we ended up taking a job with no travel. That was a significant pay cut, but we felt like it was what our family needed at the time to kind of restabilize. And so it is. It's like this process of just going in, trying to get better, and then knowing that you're going to dig out later, at least for us.
Anything to add to that? No. So, we're going to finish here actually on one more final question, and I'm going to ask the question, then I'm going to let you guys answer it, and then I'm going to answer it as well. What is it that, through everything that's happened to you, to all of you in recent months and recent years, what is it that's kept you going?
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's
My
family.
grandkids.
Family, and I set an intention for myself that the minute I was diagnosed, that I was just going to do what I had to do to get through it as quickly and as efficiently as possible, and just never look back.
Head first.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you need to do.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
One foot in front of the other.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's people worse off than we are, and that's what I always think too. Don't feel sorry for yourself. Don't make people around you feel sorry for you. In my mind, it's no big deal.
That's great. And so, in closing, I don't really want to have the last word, but I guess I will. And and that is, that I thought I'd answer that question myself as well, in terms of what is it that keeps us going, because as someone who comes into work every day and tries their best to take care of patients with cancer, the question is, what keeps us going? Because they're like for you guys, on a different kind of way. There are good days and bad days, and I think that the folks sitting at the table here can sort of demonstrate very clearly what it is that keeps us going. And we were talking just a little earlier on, before the sort of formal session started this evening. One of the things that I think, as an oncologist, that makes this an incredible thing to do is watching the courage, the dignity, the way that families come together around somebody when they have this condition, and really pulling as a team. And I would say that we see that almost without fail, that just about every patient who comes into my clinic to see me comes with a group of other people with them as their support network, and that's really quite phenomenal. The other thing that's so important for us and so rewarding for us is that we're lucky enough as oncologists to get to know our patients a little better than a lot of physicians do. It isn't like being a surgeon and seeing a patient once to fix the hernia and then they kind of go off into the distance and never see them again. We're lucky enough to be able to get to know our patients and their families, often over many, many years. And, you know, one of the rewarding things for me in particular in what I do is that I'm fortunate enough from time to time to treat young people who have particular types of cancer, and then have them come into their clinic with their children a few years down the line. And that is incredibly rewarding for me, to see someone get through this and then, you know, have a great family and great kids and so on. So I think that that would be what keeps me going. And more than anything else, I think what keeps me going doing this, and even though it does sound a little bit cliched sometimes, is the fact that, you know, the outlooks, the treatments of some of these conditions have really changed so much. I've been in oncology now, and I'm almost scared to actually figure this out. My first year as an oncology fellow was in 1984, so I guess that's 30 years, which is a scary thought. So I've been in oncology now for 30 years, and it has changed so much that it is beyond belief. And what I often tell folks is, you know, at one level, although I don't think my wife would want to hear this, at one level, I wish I could do it for another 30, because I think that what's going to happen in terms of the changes in treatment and the changes in life and quality of life for people who are affected by this disease are going to be so big over the next 20 or 30 years that part of me would really like to stick around in oncology to be able to see that. But, you know, so I think that in closing this out tonight, you know, I would like to thank everyone who's been bold enough to come up here and talk a little bit about their own experiences. I would like again to thank you all for everything that you do and Needs Beyond Medicine does to take care of people at a very, very difficult time. And keep the faith, you know. I think things are getting better and better. They really are. And in another 5 or 10 years from now, they're going to be so much better than they are right now. So thanks once again. Thanks to you all for being a part of this, and all enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks.